understood that I had an accent, but I didn't know how distinct mine was until I got to college. Suddenly I had all these people asking where I was from or referencing my accent. The Delco accent is becoming more and more popular in the media, especially as people become louder and more proud about being from Delco. And they're really proud, trust me.
People from Delco are like Delco strong, you know what I'm saying? So they're totally all about Delco.
A few classic movies have taken place in Delco over the years, such as Mean Girls, which was set in Upper Darby, or Silver Linings Playbook, which took place in Ridley. However, neither of these movies advertised Delco as their location. More recently, HBO's Mayor of Easttown, starring Kate Winslet, was openly set in Delco. In fact, one of the characters was a graduate from my high school. Kate Winslet garnered a lot of attention for her accent in the show, especially once she admitted it was one of the 2 hardest dialects she's ever had to learn. Since then, many people have been interested in the dialect, from journalists to SNL writers.
Would you guys quit eating Wawa hoagies over the body, please?
Before I start talking about the Delco dialect and the specifics of it, I think it's important you get a feel for Delco itself. Let's start with a quick tour. The bread and butter of Delco is the Wawa. Delco is home to about 5% of Wawas nationwide. You also might have heard of Wawa, Pennsylvania, which is located in Delco as well. If you've never been to a Wawa, you can get gas, coffee, any snack you can think of, or most famously, a hoagie. Our Wawa in Aston is located right next to the Rita's, which means my brother and I can get a hoagie and a water ice in one trip. This is Linvilla Orchards. Linvilla is open year-round and is always jumping. Here, you can visit the stores and buy food grown on the orchards, play on the playground, pick your own fruit, Christmas trees, or pumpkins, or feed the variety of animals. This is Booth's Corner, but nobody here calls it that. We just call it the sale. The sale is only open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and it's packed from the minute it opens to the minute it closes. Inside, you can buy just about anything from jewelry to roast beef sandwiches to comic books. This might not be an iconic location to everyone in Delco, but it is to me. This is the house I grew up in, and to make it more interesting, one of the filming locations in Mayor of Easttown. It was really cool to see Kate Winslet investigating around the same yard my brother and I played in when we were little. Many people are familiar with some of the obvious parts of the accent. Like everyone knows, we don't say water.
Mom, throw me a bottle of water.
And we've been known to not say Eagles or League.
Eagles, National League champs. Go Birds!
But there's a lot more subtle aspects to the dialect that you might not be familiar with. For example, my brother and I never played at the creek, but we spent a lot of time down at the crick. We don't pack a towel for Florida. We pack a towel for Florida. Contrary to popular belief, we don't say dirter. We do, however, say daughter. I could go on and on with all the words we say differently. Like, for example, you might say acme, but we say acme. You might say dentist, we say dentist. And you might say radiator, but we would say radiator. Okay, this last one is a phrase. We would never say, have you had dinner yet? Instead, we would just say,
hey, Jeet yet?
And the obvious Delco response is just as simple. No, Jew? The Delco dialect is a northern dialect with a lot of southern features. It has many similarities to the Philly dialect, which is known as the southernmost northern dialect. The accent is more than just words. It includes a few changes to typical vowel and consonant pronunciation as well. For consonant sounds, sometimes we substitute a sh sound for a s sound in words. For example, you might say a street is straight, but I would say the street is straight. I didn't even notice this one until I was doing research for the project. We also tend to have an alternate pronunciation of the O and A sound. For example, for the O sound, we wouldn't say go home. We would say go home. This sounds differently because our O sound is higher than a typical pronunciation of an O sound. For the A sound, we don't say glad or class. We would say glad or class. This sounds more nasal because the sound is also higher up in your mouth than a typical A pronunciation. All of these sounds are not easy to grasp. Research reported on by Cambridge University has shown that children growing up in the area can't obtain the dialect if both of their parents don't have it. The Delco dialect may not seem all that interesting, but as the media is discovering, it's a lot more than hoagies, water, and eagles.